Detectives are often portrayed as, to quote the vernacular, weird little guys. Between Sherlock Holmes and his crippling cocaine addiction and Hercule Poirot and his little gray cells, detectives are often portrayed as a bit out there. This works especially well when paired with a Watson-like character who can act as our eyes into the world of the detective's whims. After all, it usually takes someone a little odd to be as good at solving cases as your average Miss Marple. This dynamic is very present in the first Knives Out movie. Benoit Blanc, as portrayed by Daniel Craig, is a pretty cut-and-dry kooky detective character, albeit one that awakened in me a love of Southern gentlemen that I am still trying to sort out. Meanwhile, unlike your average well-educated Watson, Craig's partner in crime is one Marta Cabrera, the victim's nurse, who, while the principal target for the family's suspicions, is actually pretty blameless of the crime. Though Marta is just as important of a character as Blanc and does her own share of crime solving, Blanc is pretty instrumental in resolving the plot. He is almost the opposite of Holmes in a lot of ways. Holmes is whip smart and absolutely not afraid to show it. He comes on strong and he takes every scene that he's in. Blanc almost acts as a background actor in his own movie, bumbling around in a slightly confused manner and making everyone around him think he's kind of an idiot. Of course, this is very much on purpose, before he reveals all the little details he's been keeping track of and all the crazy conclusions they've led him to, which, of course, all turn out to be right in the end. Even if Knives Out is a trope-spinning modernization of the detective thriller, it is still very much that. It plays the idea of the kooky detective very straight, and the difference is primarily in the specifics. But what if there was a story in which the detective was the straight man and everyone around him was a kooky nutcase? We saw some of this in the first game with characters like Wendy Oldbag and April May, but the second Ace Attorney game really takes the idea of these nutty characters and runs with it. Almost everyone in this game is a weirdo. Everyone that is, except Phoenix Wright. If everyone's a weirdo, we need someone to be our anchor to this plot, and by God, if it isn't going to be him. Ace Attorney really flips this classic detective concept on its head by making the entire world weird, which provides, instead of the hint of comedy that most typical detective novels possess, a laugh-out-loud riot of a story with a bit of dry humor at its core. Are you ready to enter the bizarro world of weirdos that Phoenix Wright inhabits? I'm Hedgehog, welcome back to this nonsense, and this is Ace Attorney. And as the crowd's fingers are hovered over that skip forward button, oh wait, what? YouTube will skip that stuff automatically now? What the hell? Rude. Anyway, it's time for me to shill. Do you like silly characters with weird quirks and snappy dialogue? How about that combined with a mind-bending horror-like setting? Man, this one really got like book talky, didn't it? I write audiobooks. They're all in a big series. They're weird just like Ace Attorney is, although I will say they're quite a bit more fucked up. But if that sounds interesting to you, please go follow the link in the description to my website and check them out. By the time this video comes out, I will have one with a complete musical score done by my longtime collaborator Daniel D. Teach, who often composes some of the music you hear in the backgrounds of these videos. It's really good. You should read it. Go do it right now. Anyway, if you don't care about art and just want to hear me swear a lot about visual novels, you should go check out my Patreon. I do exclusive patron live streams about once every other month, and also post my thoughts about any visual novels I read. So if you just simply can't get enough of me, that's the place to find even more. Finally, a 2-for-1, consider joining the Discord server to get updates on everything I do, because it's a lot, and that's also a wonderful place to speak to some of the voice cast you'll hear in this video. They're really rad and wonderful and totally won't consume your flesh if you let them. Please, they're so hungry. I would also like to thank them for all their help with this video. They work too hard for so little glory, so make sure to give a shout out to your favorite performance in the comments. It makes their day, and mine. Right, okay. Gotta take a breath now, because that was a lot. I'm sure you're all itching at the bit to get on with it, all 10 of you that watch this series, so let's dive right back into the adventures of the long-suffering Phoenix Wright and all of the weirdos he meets along the way.
How did I get into this mess?
That's far enough. You can't run forever, Mr. Phoenix Wright.
What? What have I done wrong?
I cannot allow you to go on like this.
But I'm just a simple defense attorney.
Silence! You are no longer worthy of your title.
Okay, listen, I know I said that the second game got a little silly, but this is just ridiculous.
What a nightmare. And I bet it was this ringtone that caused it. I really shouldn't be dozing off right before a trial starts anyway. Huh. Looks like they hung up.
Ah, good. I finally found it. Talk about a close call. I hate to do this to you, but it's nothing personal, Mr. Attorney.
And just like the last game, we start with a grand moment that tells us exactly who the villain we're looking for is. I commented on this at the start of the last game, how this really provides us with a simple way to get to grips with the style of gameplay Ace Attorney provides, because now we don't have to worry about the villain and only about finding him guilty. You'll notice that a lot of the beats of the second game really mirror the first, and this won't quite get broken up until the third game. Anyway, a few minutes later, our good old friend Phoenix Wright wakes up with a terrible headache and a much better microphone than the last time we saw him.
Good morning. What's wrong? You don't look well. People are at their best first thing in the morning. Where's that fighting spirit?
Am I in trouble or something? You're a policewoman, right? I thought maybe I had done something wrong?
Uh-oh. What's going on with our boy? As the policewoman in front of us explains that she is our client for today's trial, we get a sneaking suspicion that something is very wrong with good old Mr. Wright.
So, this might sound bad, but, who are you?
Great. So he has amnesia. That's not great. It probably happened when that mysterious man beamed him over the head, but luckily we've got Maggie Bird to help us through it. She often watches Wright's court proceedings in her free time, so we're in good hands? Maybe? Oh god, this is just like another nightmare. At least he's wearing pants, I guess. Yeah, so if you couldn't tell already, they get around the fact that Wright should already know what he's doing in this trial by giving him amnesia. It gives a really good in-game excuse for why he has to relearn everything he already did in the first game. Of course, most people who are playing this game have probably played the first one, but you never know what kid's grandma is going to pick up this silly little game for his Game Boy Advance and have no idea that it's the second game in the series. For those of you anxious about this potentially obnoxious development, don't worry, it will only last through this first trial.
Court is now in session for the trial of Maggie Bird.
The prosecution is ready, Your Honor.
Ah, Winston Payne, you old son of a bitch. Back to get your ass kicked again, I see. What a little slime ball. He looks so smug that we just gotta put him in his place, right, Phoenix?
What if I said no? Would that be alright?
Of course it wouldn't.
Wright tries to tell the judge about his amnesia, but he's already anxious about this trial, considering that the defendant is a member of the police force, so no wibbling will be accepted here. The judge asks Payne to give his opening statement.
As I'm sure you're well aware, the defendant is accused of killing her lover. What's worse, her lover was a fellow police officer.
A policeman? You did what to a policeman?
It wasn't me. And besides, Dustin and I, we weren't lovers like that.
So you weren't fucking. Shame, really? Payne gloats a little at Phoenix, who has no idea who the hell this guy is, and calls his first witness to the stand. It's Gumshoe! My son! My boy! Yes, Gumshoe has a slightly larger role to play in this game than the last. I mean, he's my favorite, so of course he does. He'll spend a lot more time on the stand this game, helping you sort through the physical evidence of the case. This game is just, in general, a little longer than the first one. In ways, this is not great because often the length is increased simply by bullshit versus substance, as Japanese games, especially visual novels, tend to be. But when it does dip its toes into more complex cases, it does so with gusto. For now, this case is still pretty simple, although it's certainly a bit more complicated than its first game counterpart. The judge notes that Gumshoe doesn't look well, and of course Maggie is one of his subordinates, so he's a little verklempt. He also might have a little crush on her, but let's not worry about that. What does my precious baby boy have to say?
It happened at the Parkney headquarters, Expose Park. The victim was one of the local cops, Dustin Prince. He was pushed down from the benches on the upper path, sir. The landing beat his body up bad and snapped his neck.
Dustin Prince. Huh? Jeez, we're starting early. Anyway, Payne mentions a report distributed yesterday that contains all the details, but of course, Wright doesn't remember that. Maggie gets all up in his grill and instructs him on how to use the court record, but we're old hands at that, right? Apparently, there was a very important piece of evidence found at the crime scene, and if we take a look, we can see that it was a broken pair of glasses.
Hey, why are you giving me the evil eye? Yes, this is my spare pair, but these glasses I found at the scene of the crime are not mine. Look, it was a coincidence that on the same day, I accidentally stepped on mine.
A coincidence, she says. Ugh.
But just wait. It gets worse.
Your Honor, I have further evidence to present, and this evidence is very decisive.
Oh, great. Let's hear it from the dog's mouth.
During his date, the victim was pushed from the bench area, but he managed to write the culprit's name on the ground where he landed. I don't like saying it, but it was clearly the defendant's name, Maggie, sir. With this piece of evidence and the glasses, it's hard to say she's not the culprit.
So, yeah, this looks pretty bad. Luckily, we have a new trick up our sleeve this time around. Yes, we can present evidence on his statements as we were previously able to, but now we can also present profiles of the various characters involved in this case, which will come in handy right now as anyone who's actually watching this video and doesn't have me on in the background, yeah, you, the guy playing Factorio right now, can see that there's, definitely a big problem with this name. So we present Maggie Bird's profile.
Objection!
There it is. Oh, how we missed you, our favorite screaming lunatic. Wright, after marveling at how fun it was to have an excuse to shout at the top of his lungs, asks Gumshoe to state the victim's name for him. Payne thinks this is ridiculous, but Wright turns the question on him.
What? It says right here that it's Maggie Bird.
What's going on here?
As you can see, the victim did indeed leave a name, Maggie. However, the defendant's name is actually spelled Maggie. This is a blatant contradiction of facts.
Payne tries to argue that maybe the victim just didn't know how to spell her name, but as I can tell you, as someone with a name that people are constantly spelling wrong, the very first thing Dragon did was figure out how to spell it properly. Oh, and there's the Dragon reference for your bingo cards. Of course, Maggie and the victim were a couple. The judge asked Gumshoe to testify about their closeness.
Officer Prince and Officer Boyd had been going out for about half a year. It sounded like they were even talking about marriage. The day of the incident just happened to be the victim's birthday, sir. Maggie, Officer Boyd had gotten Officer Prince a present. It was something she had bought over 2 months ago. I should know, because she came to me to ask what she should get for him.
Nothing in this statement is a contradiction, hence it's time for us to press Gumshoe like an iPhone in one of those hydraulic squishing videos. Asking him about the present will lead him to explain that it was a baseball glove. You can claim that this glove is fundamental to this case and have Gumshoe show the glove in question to the court. It is very yellow. Holy shit, my eyeballs. The fact that she custom ordered this glove to be in his favorite color speaks to their closeness. Of course he would know how to spell her name. So let's see what else Gumshoe has to say about this name in the dirt.
We first looked into the handwriting. Unfortunately, we couldn't confirm that it was the victim's handwriting. Next, we checked the victim's pointer finger. We found out that there was sand trapped under the victim's fingernail. There were also scratches in the skin that were caused by him writing on the ground. From this, we could confirm that the victim wrote this name with his right hand.
Okay, so it's pretty clear that this message was at least written with the victim's hand. But there's one problem. One problem that you wouldn't actually be able to figure out without some knowledge of baseball. If you don't know about sports ball, like me, Maggie's got you.
But don't you think that would be really strange, sir? If Dustin really wrote that message with his right hand, do you think it would have gone through that much trouble to get him his present?
Present the glove on Gumshoe's last statement, and Wright will proclaim that him writing the message with his right hand is ridiculous. Maggie had to custom order the baseball glove not just for its obnoxious color, but for the fact that it's left-handed. Ah, the plates of us southpaws knows no bounds. So why in the hell would he write her name incorrectly with his non-dominant hand?
Mr. Payne, the evidence the prosecution has presented has failed to prove the defendant's guilt. In fact, I believe you have just proven her to be innocent.
Objection! No, not yet. Please give me a few more minutes, Your Honor. We would like to call our next witness to the stand.
It seems that this witness saw the face of the murderer as they pushed Dustin over the railing. I mean, we've already proven Maggie innocent by hard evidence, but this is fine. We have more tutorial to do anyway, I suppose. So the judge calls a recess for the prosecution to get set up, and we're booted back out to the defendant's lobby.
Amnesia? I can't believe my lawyer's trying to defend me in such a state. Why didn't you tell me, sir?
She offers to kick him in the head to cure it, but Phoenix graciously declines. He asks her to simply help fill in some of the blanks, so she gives him a business card with his name on it, and his cell phone number scrawled on the back. Finally, is there anything important about this case that he should know? Apparently, right before the crime happened, there was an incident with a cell phone, and when she told him about it at the detention center, his eyes lit up. Just before 6 p.m., on the day of the crime in question, Maggie and Dustin were taking a walk when they stumbled upon a lost cell phone. The phone rang, and Maggie obviously picked it up.
Oh, thank you. I've been searching for my phone.
Is this yours? Oh, I'm glad you called. We can meet up and I can give this back.
I'll be right there. I'm sorry I didn't catch your name.
You can call me Maggie.
And this is why you never give your phone to strangers, kids! You never know when they'll use it to frame you for murder! Anyway, apparently this person never showed up for their phone, and so now it is in Wright's possession.
You were here all along! You're so mean! I called you 1,000,000 times, but you wouldn't pick up! And when I went to check in the courtroom, everyone had already left.
Ugh. Now, who in the heck is this? Let me guess, I'm supposed to know this girl too.
At the very least, we definitely do. Wait, Maya? What is she doing here? I thought she just gave Wright a teary goodbye and left to train. Is she back? What's happening? Quite infuriatingly, Phoenix obviously doesn't have any answers for us. Anyway, Maya is late to the courtroom because Wright asked her to find something for him, a list of the members of a con artist group. It seems that Maya found them in the memory of the lost cell phone. She seems a little sus in how forgetful Wright is today, but she's Maya. She doesn't think about it too hard.
The court will now reconvene. Please call your next witness to the stand, Mr. Payne.
Yes, Your Honor. But before I do, if I may say a few words. He has a tendency to say things that rub people the wrong way, you see. So I ask that the court might be a little lenient on...
The judge is thoroughly over this shit, and so Payne's witness is called to the stand. He is apparently just a drifter who happened to be taking a walk in the park at the time of the murder. Payne asks him to give his name, but this guy... oh, he's got some stuff to say.
Just now you introduced my wonderful self to the court, correct? Perhaps as a drifter who was taking a walk. But I will not stand for that. Now you've tinted the court's eyes and colored me wrong. Sure, I suppose calling me a university student would not be the absolute truth, but to give in and just settle would be as evil as death, and I can't have that. Everything in my life is to be the utmost, highest, top-grade quality, you understand? I'm merely looking for that perfect, top-notch, unbeatable university, don't you see?
I have to question him?
The judge demands his name, and after shaming him for trying to keep the young people down, he gives his name as Richard Wellington, a university student in transit. Oh god, I've known quite a number of people like this at college. Please kill me now. The judge asks him to testify about his walk in the park, and after another little spat about the wording, we get on with it.
I was at the park all afternoon, deep in thought about my life situation. I don't remember the time all that well, but I do believe it was past 6 p.m. All of a sudden, a police officer falls from above, right in front of my eyes. Without a thought, I looked up, and there I met the eyes of a charming young lady. Of course, I remember her sweet face. It was that of the pretty defendant there. The only other thing I saw was the banana that fell with the police officer.
I think the judge is right. This seems like a pretty solid testimony here. No, of course it's not. What? Bananas? Why was there a bunch of bananas there? Bunch, specifically, as he clarifies. There were no bananas at the crime scene, but why would he lie about that? Unless he's not quite lying.
Mr. Wellington, I believe I have the bananas you saw right here.
Ah, so you knew about the bananas too. But don't think you can use this as a way to pull more information out of me.
But Wright's got him right in his clutches, because the thing he's showing him isn't a bunch of bananas at all. It's Dustin's baseball glove. The fact that, even in this bright courtroom, Wellington didn't recognize what that object was means one thing very specifically.
By the way, just how bad are your eyes?
Objection! Your Honor, it is very simple to mistake a glove for a bunch of bananas.
No, I don't think so. Objection overruled.
So yeah, Wellington admits that his vision is absolutely terrible, so why isn't he wearing his glasses? Well, you see, he just so happened to lose them recently, and since they're pretty specific, he hasn't been able to replace them yet. So the question is, was he wearing his glasses when he witnessed the crime?
You are an unrelenting evil man. You're like those people who rejected Joan of Arc and put her to death. She was brave and courageous only to be caught by horrible, unrighteous people. And while she didn't do anything wrong, she was still gruesomely burned at the...
Yeah, I definitely knew people like this in college. And also, he clearly wasn't wearing his glasses, so how could he have seen the face of the assailant? Wellington is a really interesting counterpart to the villain of the first game's tutorial trial. Both him and Frank Sawhit fill a very similar role. They are both the true assailant disguised as a witness, thinking that if they point the finger at someone else, they can get away with it. The difference is in execution. Sawhit, in comparison to Wellington, is a nearly subtle character. Well, sans ridiculous Indian accent that we gave him. Wellington's strategy is to appear so wildly ridiculous and incompetent that there's no way he could have actually committed the crime. Okay, but that isn't a bit, he is just like that. Ultimately, Wellington fits the ethos of the second game just as well as Sawhit did the first. Sawhit was there to be a little quirky, but mostly to act as a major roadblock. Wellington is an over-the-top weirdo, and his testimonies are filled with absolute nonsense. Fucking banana, glove, ass. Anyway, Payne brushes Wright's complaints under the rug for now, and Wellington testifies about what happened next.
The girl on the upper path ran away as soon as she realized I was there. After that, I immediately called the police station to report the crime. It must have been 6:45 when I made the call. They must have a lot of free time on their hands since they showed up within 10 minutes.
Okay, but there's one major problem with this statement. If you look at the court record, you'll see that Dustin was murdered at exactly 6:25, but Wellington said that he called the police immediately.
I think the court would like to hear what you were doing during this 15-minute gap.
After struggling for a solid minute, Wellington finally has an answer for us. He was looking for a phone booth. So, what, does he not have a cell phone or something?
I lost my cell phone. There, are you happy?
Unbelievable. You lose your glasses and your cell phone. You must be very scatterbrained when it comes to your belongings.
But wait. A missing cell phone. Wright and Maya look at each other in glee. Oh, but wait, it seems that Wellington has since found his cell phone, so there's no problem, right? Wrong. There is still something very obvious that we've been missing.
Your Honor, the witness's testimony does not make any sense. I don't believe there was ever a need for the witness to search for a phone.
Because, you see, right in that other crime scene photo we were given is a huge fucking phone booth. What a fucking idiot. The judge wants to know what Wright thinks he was actually doing in those 15 minutes since Wellington himself is suddenly clammed up. Maya suspects that he killed Dustin to get his phone back, so he must have been looking for it, but Maggie said she was already going to return it to him.
But if he wasn't looking for his cell phone, maybe he was looking for something else.
If you'll recall, that broken pair of glasses was found under the dead body.
Your Honor, I think the answer is quite clear here. As he fell, Dustin Prince grabbed the culprit's glasses. The culprit knew that he had to find his glasses and searched frantically for them.
Of course, he had no idea they were under the body, which means that Wellington is the murderer. He briefly becomes a rubber hose character as he flips the fuck out over this. Wright feels his old self coming back to him, and he knows he can pin this guy. Payne raises an objection, saying that Wright has no solid evidence that he's the murderer, but Wright turns it right back at him. Where's the proof that Wellington isn't the murderer? Well, the name Maggie, written in the dirt, of course. We've already proven that it couldn't have been Dustin who wrote it, but Wellington is a total stranger. How would he know Maggie's name? But if you'll recall what Maggie told us earlier, then there may be one way. Present the cell phone, and watch Phoenix go.
Mr. Wellington, you didn't have your cell phone with you on the day of the murder, correct? When you realized you had lost it, what did you do? Didn't you try to find it by calling it?
Because remember, when the mysterious owner of the phone called to pick it up, he asked for a name, and Maggie gave him hers. It's genius because he was in the exact right position to hear her name, but have no idea how it was spelled.
Objection! But, Your Honor, the witness has no motive. Mr. Wellington had no reason to kill anyone.
If you think about this one for a second, the answer should be pretty obvious. Recall that Maya dug up a list of contacts on that cell phone, and they were all members of a con group. Why was Wellington so desperate for the phone back that he'd kill? Maybe to protect his involvement with said group.
This is an outrage, an invasion of privacy. Looking up the phone numbers on a person's phone is a worse crime than murder. You're one of those people. You're just like the cops who raided that brilliant artist Maurice Aurelio's atelier. They disrupted a genius at work and interrupted his dialogue with the goddess of...
I don't care, Mr. Wellington. All I want is for you to tell us what this list is about.
They go back and forth for a while, and Payne finally brings up the idea that Maggie had already promised to give back the phone, so why did Wellington feel he had to kill? The answer may not be immediately obvious, as this detail is never something that is outright stated by the characters, but if you pay attention to every shot we've gotten of Mr. Prince on that day, you'll notice that he's in uniform. They met for their date right after Destin's shift, and he hadn't changed yet.
He couldn't have known they were going out, so he began to worry. He was afraid the policeman would ask a few questions before returning the phone. In his mind, it was possible they'd already run a check on the phone.
Yep, I'd say that kinda puts the nail in the coffin. We've finally cornered him, we've explained everything in this case, so all that's left to do is...
Impressive! Not bad for a person with a third-rate education. All you've been waving around and talking about is that suspicious cell phone. But who's to say that phone is really mine? I already told you earlier. That phone I lost, I've already found it!
And there's the phone in his hand. Oddly enough, it looks identical to the one that Wright has. Fingerprints won't work. Wright himself wiped them off because the phone was covered in sand. Lamely, Wright asks where Wellington finally found his cell phone, but his statement triggers something in him. A memory.
Huh. Looks like they hung up.
And that is when Wellington struck. But wait, Wright still has the evidence phone. So whose phone does Wellington currently have? Wright understands. He thinks he can prove that this phone he still has is Wellington's. The judge allows him to present one last piece of evidence that will prove everything. Present to the court, Phoenix's business card, the one with his cell phone number on the back. If Wellington grabbed a cell phone during that time he beamed Wright on the head, and it wasn't his own phone, then there's only one person's it could be.
Why, thank you. How nice. Here, please have one of mine.
No, Judge, that's not the point.
We are going to call my cell phone now, and then the court will see everything for what it is.
Of all the stupid, idiotic things to...
But of course, the cell phone in his hands starts ringing.
How strange. I could almost swear that you were holding my phone. By the way, before I forget, thank you very much for the lump on my head this morning.
And with that, I'd say this case is pretty much over. Wellington is arrested for murder, and dear Miss Maggie Bird is swiftly declared not guilty.
That is all. This court is adjourned.
In the defendant's lobby, there is much rejoicing, although everyone has a moment of silence for poor Dustin, who didn't do anything to deserve this.
It's probably because of me. My whole life has been nothing but a whirlwind of bad luck and failures.
Apparently, it's so bad that she's gotten the nickname Lady Luckless, which, as Mice Man will testify, was his band name in college.
I'm going to find a new life for myself starting now. The next time we meet, I'm sure I'll have found a whole ocean's worth of good luck by then, sir.
She bids them adieu, and though his memory is back, Wright still admits that a couple of things are hazy.
But you're okay, and that's what counts. You really had me worried. Come on, let's go back to the office.
So, this might sound bad, but, who are you?
Tish. No, now that he's recalling everyone he knows, Gumshoe, the judge.
This person, I haven't got a clue.
And of course, finally, he remembers Maya. All's well that ends well. The two head to their usual burger joint, and Phoenix just finds himself happy that she's back in his life.
Actually, It hasn't even been 2 months since she came back into my life. And that story began on one rainy afternoon 2 months ago.
No, I did it. I killed that person.
But that wasn't you.
It doesn't matter. It might as well have been me.
I can't believe something like this happened. The events of that gloomy, rainy afternoon that started this whole mess keep playing through my mind.
Leading right off the previous chapter, we enter a flashback of 2 months ago, and now we're entering another flashback. In the flashback. Call that flashbackception? Okay, I'm done now. But oh boy, we've got ourselves a little setup, don't we? Again, very clearly mirroring the first game, we have a setup in which Maya is apparently accused of murder. Again. Yet this time, for some reason, she seems to think that she's actually guilty. Alright, let's see what on earth would have led her to that conclusion.
What depressing rain. Do you understand how depressed that makes me? Do you?
This is Dr. Turner Gray, and he goes on about the weather for a very long time. So long that Wright has to get him back on track. He came to Wright about a case, after all. Apparently, he was the doctor on staff during an incident at his hospital in which 14 people were killed because of malpractice. Gray claims that it was the nurse on staff who mixed up the medications, but of course, he's gotten blamed for it.
And this is the kicker. She up and has herself a grand ol' accident and crashes her car. Smash! Crunch! Instantly transforming her car into the accordion model.
Of course, as Wright points out to us, there were rumors that Gray himself is the one who caused the car accident in order to hide the responsible party who committed the malpractice. But Wright has a question. All of this happened over a year ago, so why come to him now? Gray explains that his clinic is not seeing many patients due to the scandal, so his crackpot scheme is to get the spirit channeling done and make the ghost of the nurse admit that she committed the malpractice. It's the spirit medium's first time conducting a channeling, so she had one request: to bring Phoenix Wright. Of course, the medium in question is none other than Maya Fey.
I have an acquaintance who knows a lot about these mystical sorts of things. She's the one who introduced me to Miss Fey.
Is Maya really that famous?
And so it's time to go visit Maya in her hometown. There is no way this will go horribly wrong for anyone involved. Wright gets off the bus and finds himself in a very Japanese village. Yeah, so do you remember in one of the previous videos I said that the localization team originally had visions of setting the Ace Attorney games in Los Angeles? Yeah, here's where that really properly falls apart. There's no way to explain why there's a traditional Japanese village in the middle of California, is there? So from this point onward, the translation kind of just ignores any sense of place and just simply lets the Japanese village exist with no further explanation than it's very old-fashioned. Hello? Can we help you, small child?
Why, hello there. What an odd little girl.
Well, we'll worry about that later. For now, we are reunited with Maya. Even though we were just talking to her in the last trial, it still feels like forever since we've seen her. We can talk to her for a minute, ask her how much she knows about Dr. Gray, which it turns out is just about as much as we do. But more importantly, let's ask her about the village.
Yup, Kurain Village. But I've heard people call this place Medium Valley, too.
Interesting. So everyone that lives here is a spirit medium?
Actually, only the women of this village are mediums.
As we learned in the last game, only the Fey women can commune with the dead. We can also ask her about the little girl. Turns out that was her cousin Pearl, who may potentially be an even better medium than Maya. She probably ran because her mother, Maya's aunt, drilled it into her head not to talk to suspicious-looking people. Pearl doesn't know a lot about the world outside this village, as her mother has kept her pretty locked up, so Wright's clothes probably looked weird to her. Anyway, it's almost time for the channeling, so Wright follows Maya into the meditation room where they meet up with Dr. Gray.
Some nice weather we're having today. Aren't you happy?
No, not at all. That stupid weather girl made the wrong call again. It will rain cats and dogs today, she said with a straight face. I can't believe they allow such misguided reports on the public airwaves.
Man, I think Dr. Gray needs to perform a surgery on himself to get that stick out of his ass. We get a little more information out of him. His plan with this whole spirit channeling thing is to get a written confession out of the ghost that he can show to the world. Okay, sure. And he heard about Maya through a girl he knows who is studying the occult at college. Man, I sincerely wish any of the colleges I went to had an occult studies degree, because, man, I would have gotten one and would probably still be doing this, if I'm honest. Next, we head into the channeling chamber itself to go have a poke around.
Oh, you must be that good sir. You are a lawyer, are you not, good sir? I have heard much about you from Mystic Maya. I am Mystic Maya's aunt, Morgan Fay.
Nice to meet you.
Ah, I had wanted to speak with you about a certain incident, good sir. It would seem that perhaps you asked too much of Mystic Maya in performing your duties. Most unbecoming, I'm afraid.
Okay, so she's a bit old-fashioned and clearly doesn't think much of Wright's lawyering skills. This is quite obviously Morgan Fay, Maya's aunt. First of all, let's ask her about the whole Mystic Maya thing. That is apparently her proper title, and Wright must always refer to her as such. One of the reasons Morgan stands on such ceremony for her is that she is the last descendant of the main family. Morgan herself is a member of the branch family, which means that even though both she and her daughter Pearl are highly skilled mediums, they can never become the master of the Kurain school.
Oh, yes. I wonder if you have yet to meet Pearl, good sir. She is my daughter. A pure heart that knows not of the evils in this world is a powerful thing, good sir. Please refrain from affiliating with her, I request.
Oh god, she's one of those homeschool moms whose kids either join the alt-right or change their name and get blue hair as soon as they're 18. Let's get out of here. I don't like this woman very much. We can check out the other areas of the manor now, specifically the Winding Way, as it's called in English, and one of the side rooms. Somebody seems to be sleeping in here, though, so let's go back and—
Hey, you! Hold on now. This gal's got a few questions to ask.
It's our old friend, Lotta Hart. She's here in the capacity as a paranormal investigator. Of course, no one is actually going to be allowed in the channeling room while the ceremony is happening, but that's never stopped her before.
We will now begin the channeling. Mystic Maya and honored guest, please proceed into the channeling chamber.
With this, I can finally swat all those pesky flies once and for all. You hear me? They won't be able to say a single bad thing about me after this.
Maya takes the key to the channeling chamber, and she and Gray depart. Morgan, meanwhile, babysits the rest of us. Obviously, Lotta is pissed she can't get into the chamber, but Morgan is more than fit to handle her.
Wow, she shut Lotta up. Now that's impressive.
But suddenly, the assembled gawkers hear a very loud bang from the chamber. And then a second one. Those were gunshots. You can either be a little pussy and ask Morgan what to do, or just knock the fucking door down.
Yeah! Now that's what I call being a man!
They break into the room, only to find I was murdered. That man murdered me, so I killed him. Lotta manages to get a couple shots off, but Morgan hurries us from the room, instructing us to call the police, so we do at a phone booth outside. While we wait, Wright and Lotta catch their breaths, and we get a chance to ask her a couple of questions. It turns out she did some research on Gray before she got here. Though he portrays himself as entirely free from sin, Lotta comments that apparently he was very difficult to work for. Well, I guess it doesn't matter now, seeing as he's very dead. Anyway, let's head back inside. We've got to see how Maya's doing after all. Morgan tells us that her connection to the spirit has been severed, but she's currently unconscious, so we can't see her.
The police are here! Sorry to keep you waiting. Huh? You again?
Gumshoe! You're sure far away from the city. Apparently he's here on a business trip, so now he's going to be checking out the crime scene. You know, instead of the local police. This is definitely how the police department works.
Shall I show you to the scene of the crime, Detective Gumshoe?
They don't let you in after them, so for now we've just got to go back outside and kick rocks.
Lotta?
God, don't let it be me next!
So she's doing great. Initially, Lotta admits that she probably doesn't have the stomach for this sort of thing and has now decided to be a celebrity photographer instead, but she gets fired up again after remembering that she got some pics of the crime scene, so now she's gonna go develop those. Or something. She kinda just runs off screaming. Finally, let's go take a proper look at this crime scene. Maya has been vacated, and Gumshoe is very adamant that we are not to touch anything. But once Wright says that he just wants to ask him some questions, he acquiesces. Wright's helped him out in the past, after all. Of course, Maya's the only suspect they have right now, as it was just her and Gray in the channeling chamber. In addition, he was shot, but he was also stabbed as well. Talk about overkill. As we do, let's wander off and look at things. Wright hasn't said anything as such yet, but it's clear what's about to happen. Maya's going to get arrested for the crime, and we're of course going to defend her, even if that counts as conflict of interest. So let's get all the clues we can before that happens. Heading back to that side room, it turns out the person who was sleeping earlier is now awake.
So isn't it about time to start? You know, like the channeling?
Wright explains to this very confused woman that there's been a fucking murder, and on top of that, she missed the channeling.
So, a murder is that thing where, one person kills another, right? Oh, that's, what are the words I'm looking for? It's totally a bummer.
Oh boy. This woman is named Miney and is the aforementioned girl studying the occult at college. I do not believe this woman made it into college for a single second. Right. So let's question her, at least as best we can. She's here today because she's obviously the one who introduced Gray to Mystic Maya, but she missed the channeling because she's allergic to sesame seeds, of which there were in the lunch, and was sleeping off a tummy ache. But something odd happens. When you ask her about the victim, she suddenly claims to not know a Dr. Gray, even though she clearly does. Okay, guess we're not getting anything out of her right now, so let's head back and... You! We run into Pearl again in the hallway, and she's got something in her hand. It looks like a key. Anyway, again, we don't get much out of her, and heading back to the main room, it looks like we're going to have to stay here tonight, as the investigation is going to take quite a while. The next morning, we're finally free to move about, and of course, Maya was arrested for the crime, so our first move is to go see her at the detention center.
Nick! What am I going to do? I never imagined it would turn out like this. I finally get to see you again, and...
It's not your fault. You didn't do it.
She insists that she did, or at least might as well have, so let's question her about what happened. Once she sat in the chamber with Dr. Gray, she channeled the spirit and then doesn't remember anything after that, which is normal when channeling a spirit. But apparently she had a strange dream.
I can't remember it all that well, but I was dead and buried in the ground. I couldn't move, and it was unbearable, really suffocating. It went something like that. There was a really familiar smell, too.
Odd, but okay. Looks like that's all we're gonna get from her for now. So Wright makes to head back to the village and tells Maya to prepare a document. What for?
The document requesting me to be your attorney, of course.
Are you sure? I mean, I'm guilty. I'm a murderer. It's hopeless. If you defend me, you'll lose, I'm sure.
Wright tells her that it doesn't matter and he's going to help her, and she readily accepts the aid. Before he goes, she gives him one thing that she's sure will help him.
This is called a magatama. It's a magical charm, and it's always protected me. Give this to Pearlie, and I'm sure she'll lend you her spiritual powers.
All right, we head back to the law offices on the way back and pick up the newspaper clipping that Gray showed us before heading back to the village. Once we make it, our first stop is obviously the scene of the crime. Now that Gumshoe is done, we should be able to look around. While there, we run into Morgan, who's on her way to deliver unto Maya
tea so bitter you lose your tongue, and jaw-droppingly large strawberry desserts.
I'm so sorry, Maya. We ask her a little bit about what happened. Apparently this room was designed specifically to prevent what happened yesterday. Inexperienced mediums like Maya sometimes can't keep control over the spirits they summon, and unfortunately the spirit of the nurse went rogue and Maya couldn't stop her. We can also ask her about Pearl, which is a topic she's much more keen on.
Until now, the women of the Branch family have thought themselves to be inferior. But Pearl is different. Her spiritual strength is so great, even greater than some of the main family. Yes, Pearl is a channeling prodigy and the pride of the Branch family.
That's pretty cool. we're going to ignore the implication that Maya is the only main family member left. It's fine! Anyway, there's one interesting thing you can find at the crime scene. A small hole at the bottom of the very important folding screen. Maybe made by a bullet? Anyway, our other main task today is to meet up with Pearl, and we've usually found her in the back sections of the house, so let's try there.
Oh, hey, like, you're that guy from yesterday. The, dentist guy? That's right. Mr. Smith Esquire.
That's right. Wait, I mean, you're wrong. My name is Wright.
Smith, right. Well, I got like 3 letters at least.
Okay, so Enie's here, but why is she still here? She's staying to study the medium's training, apparently. You can also ask her about yesterday, but considering she slept through most of it, she's not very helpful. However, when you try to ask her about the victim, she repeats the sentiment she did yesterday, that she doesn't know a Dr. Gray. Again, we can't do much with this right now, so let's move on. Though we're not very far in, we can already see Ace Attorney's gameplay priorities shift in a very positive way. So far, there hasn't been much for us to find in the environment itself, except in the most obvious place, the crime scene. Otherwise, most of our information so far has come from talking to people. But if we cut out a lot of the environment exploration, then these investigation segments really will just become cut-up visual novel sequences, right? Well, Justice for All has a grand trick up its sleeve, one that we're about to become very well acquainted with. Back in the hallway, we finally run into Pearl. She's still holding the key from yesterday. She won't talk to us until we present the Magatama, so let's do that.
That's Mystic Maya's. Who are you?
I'm Phoenix Wright. I worked with Maya?
You worked with Mystic Maya? You're Mr. Nick, right? I know who you are. You're Mystic Maya's special someone. So then, of course, you're going to help Mystic Maya, aren't you? Oh wow, it's like a beautiful fairy tale. That earnest look shining brightly in your eyes. It must be true love.
What has Maya been telling Pearl? Wright tries to deny any sort of romantic feelings between them, which he should. Maya is at most 18 right now, potentially still 17, and he is significantly older than that. I am standing here with the police on speed dial, Mr. Wright. Anyway, Pearl offers to do whatever she can to help, and to that end, charges up the Magatama for us. It seems that it'll let us see people's secrets, whatever that means. Pearl tags along with us and will tell us about how to use it at the first opportunity. Back in the main room, we run into Gumshoe again, and it turns out he's really good with kids.
I'm not scary, honest. Hey, I know. I'll show you something cool. How's this? It's a real, genuine pistol.
Maybe not put that fucking thing away! We can speak to Gumshoe for a minute. He expresses his dismay at Maya's arrest, but there's no way anyone else could have done it, and also gives us a little hint to go back to the office and grab the newspaper clipping if we haven't done that already. Finally, he says he has some news for us. Some bad news, and some worse news.
Well, the prosecutor for the trial is Prosecutor Von Karma.
Huh? But I thought that son of a bitch got arrested for literal murder!
That's where the other piece of bad news comes in. The Von Karma you're facing tomorrow is actually his successor. It's Prosecutor Von Karma's kid. His kid became a prosecutor real young, like 13, and hasn't lost a trial since.
So this is obviously not good. This means this case is going to be real tough and is going to give Phoenix PTSD flashbacks. Okay, so now that we've talked to Gumshoe and learned about that problem, we've really got to dig up something good. There's only one loose end we've got right now. Miney. So we go back to her, and upon asking if she knew the victim again, something odd happens.
Ah! What is that?
You can see it, can't you, Mr. Nick? You can see the lock on that person's heart. This is the power of the Magatama. Only you can see these cyclocks, Mr. Nick.
So, yeah, you remember there were a couple of times in the last game where we kind of had to inelegantly present a couple of different pieces of evidence to get something out of a witness? Now they've gamified it into these cyclocks. Essentially, you'll be asked a series of questions and have to present the right series of evidence and people in order to break the locks. Break them all and you will get some inevitably valuable information. I really love this system. It ties an extra gameplay system into the investigation segments so elegantly and really solidifies Ace Attorney's gameplay style as focused on the people involved in the investigation more so than the hard evidence, at least until we get into the courtroom, obviously. This first one is really easy, with only one lock to break and one question to answer, but future psych-lock sequences can become quite complicated. All we really have to do here is show Miney a piece of evidence that proves she knows Dr. Gray. The newspaper clipping we got actually states what the nurse's name in the malpractice incident was. It was Miney. You know, together they're Eeny, Mimi, Miney. Fucking bullet. In my skull. Now. But okay, now that we've proven beyond all shadow of a doubt that Eeny knows Dr. Gray, let's get the scoop about her sister.
I heard that, Dr. Gray is really tough on people. Like a total slave driver. My sis was, always coming home totally wiped out because she was overworked. That guy, drove my sister so hard. So, that's why the accident happened. My sis was pushed by, everyone's expectations and, her duties and stuff, and that pushed her to her death.
All right, we're keeping that information in our back pocket. Dr. Gray may not have been quite as blameless as he claimed. I think that's about all we can do for the moment, so let's go check in on Maya. Pearl has never left the village before, so she stays behind. As he's approaching the detention area, Phoenix is actually kind of sweating about this one.
What am I supposed to do? I'm almost out of time. Can I really do anything? Can I really save her?
Sorry to keep you waiting. It's been a long time, hasn't it, Phoenix? She's back! The bitch is back! We love to see it! Mia admonishes Wright lightly for looking so depressed in front of his client and gives him some encouragement. If he believes in his convictions, the case will work out. Specifically, there's one thing that's weird about this whole thing. According to her, there's no way Maya actually summoned that spirit. When a medium channels, her own spirit disappears, which means that it's impossible for her to dream during that time. I think it's safe to bet that Maya was set up. But how can we prove that in a way that the court will accept? Mia claims that he's already got what he needs to win this case. The key to the channeling chamber that Pearl handed over earlier. There's only one, and Maya took that key into the chamber with her, so how did Pearl have it? Wright is still lost and a little depressed, and he asks Mia for more help. He has no idea who could have actually committed this crime.
I didn't know it at the time. But this day was going to end with a turn for the surprising.
What? Mia's hiding something from him? Why? We don't have time to sort that right now, as it's time for the trial, but there's certainly something interesting going on here. Maya freaks out when she hears that the prosecutor for this case is a Von Karma, and we are reminded of who that bastard was, but you don't need the ketchup because you just watched the second Ace Attorney video 3 times in a row for me, right?
Mystic Maya!
Oh wow, even Pearl is Wait, Pearl is here? I thought she's never left her village before. It seems that she snuck out of the village and followed a map.
Don't tell me you walked all the way here.
Of course not! I ran!
Pearly? What about the train?
Huh? What's a train?
But there's little time for small talk. It's almost time for court to begin. Maya is obviously very nervous, especially now that Von Karma is prosecuting. At least Edgeworth would be fair. But Wright has a very strange reaction to that name. It seems that something has changed since Maya left.
I'm sorry, Maya. I forgot you don't know. He's gone, and he's not coming back.
Wait. Huh? What the fuck does that mean? Is Edgeworth fucking dead?
Court is now in session for the trial of Maya Fey. Are the prosecution and the defense prepared?
Okay, I guess we're just gonna blow right past that. No sweat. It's fine. Anyway, enough about stinky old probably dead Edgeworth. It's time for my very favorite prosecutor to take the stand. I am Franziska Von Karma, the protege. I gave up a promising career in Germany and came to this country for one sole reason. Revenge.
If it's something of a personal nature, I'm sure you can— Ow!
I'm talking. If you interrupt again, my VIP visuals is speaking for me. Make no mistake, I will defeat you. Prepare to go down, Mr. Phoenix Wright. Those of Von Karma blood have only one fate, and that is perfection. The defendant, Maya Fey, will find no escape from her guilt on my watch. God, she's so cool. And misguided. Very misguided. I like her like all my guy friends like guns and tanks. You never actually want to use her, but she is very cool. Wait. The judge goes on to ask Wright what his client pleads. There is a very real world in which Wright pleads justified self-defense for Maya. That means that she won't be fucking executed or anything, but that is essentially admitting that she did it. But we know Phoenix. He's never been a half-measure sort of guy. So of course, we're standing by the plea of not guilty. Von Karma judges him harshly, but calls their first witness.
My name is Dick Gumshoe. I'm a detective at the local precinct. Ah!
Get to the point already. Explain to the court the details of this murder. The channeling chamber had no windows or other exits, and the door was locked with a single key in existence. Only the victim and defendant were in the room channeling a spirit. Seconds later, 2 gunshots were heard from the room, and Wright broke down the door.
Ah, and that's when they found the victim was already dead, correct? I believe this is one of the most open and shut cases I have ever presided over.
Yikes, that's really not good for us, but let's hear what Gumshoe has to say about the cause of death.
The direct cause of death was a pistol shot to the forehead, sir. The shot was fired from point-blank range, but before the victim was shot, sir, he was stabbed in the chest. The wound was very severe, but not enough to cause instantaneous death. The murderer used the pistol to finish the victim off after the stabbing.
Upon pressing him, we learn a couple of interesting things. First, when shot from point-blank range, the gun will leave a gunpowder burn wherever it was shot. Second, the knife he was stabbed with was a fruit knife that belonged to the Fey family. Naturally, Maya's fingerprints are all over it. Third, he was definitely stabbed, then shot. A fool is a fool who'll only listen to the foolish opinions of other foolish fools. A pistol shot to the forehead at point blank is certainly enough to kill instantly. I hope you liked the word fool, because you're going to be hearing every variation of it until Sunday in this video. Both the knife and pistol are added to the court record, but unfortunately for good old Phoenix, this really is looking like the end. The judge asks if he wants to change his plea, but in addition to being full throttle all the time, Phoenix is also not one to change his mind about something.
The defense will not change its plea. We will accept nothing short of complete acquittal.
You have sealed your fate, Mr. Phoenix Wright. Detective! She calls upon Gumshoe to present the final piece of incriminating evidence. However, before we hear what he has to say, I want to touch on something interesting. One of the most common and infamous sorts of classic mysteries is what is known as a locked room mystery. This occurs when a victim is found in a locked room with seemingly no way to have gotten in to murder them and then gotten back out again. Once again, Ace Attorney really likes to pull these odd sorts of plays on existing tropes. At a glance, this case isn't a locked room mystery at all, because our whole goal is to prove that the person who was in there with the victim wasn't the murderer. But if Maya is innocent, then who killed him, and how did they get in the room that was locked with a key that only Maya possessed? And you can see how this case is, in fact, a locked room mystery with an added complication. It's a sort of variation I haven't really seen tackled, which is a specialty of this series, taking existing tropes and spinning them in interesting and often wacky ways. Ah! I think the court would like to hear about the other piece of incriminating evidence. Jesus Christ, Franziska, put that thing away!
Sorry, pal, but there's an even more incriminating piece of evidence. This is the costume the defendant was wearing at the time of the crime. As you can see, it's covered in blood. The defendant attacked and killed a person who, without a doubt, was not fighting back.
Maya's fingerprints on both murder weapons and blood splatters on her clothes. Could this situation get any worse?
But okay, we have to try our best. Let's ask Gumshoe if any more evidence could be gathered from the blood splatter. Von Karma is very quick to shut us down, which is a little sus, not gonna lie. Let's try to press further, because if you look at the costume closely, there's actually something wrong with it.
I ask the court to please take a look at the sleeve of this costume.
The sleeve? Ah, there was a tiny hole here.
According to Gumshoe, this was an oversight by the investigation. Von Karma tries to push it under the rug, but this gives us the amount of evidence we need to pick apart Gumshoe's testimony. There was no way the victim was not fighting back when there's this hole in Maya's sleeve. But Von Karma shuts us back down. This is barely enough to justify a self-defense plea, let alone a full acquittal. She then instructs Gumshoe to construct the entire crime scenario all by himself, live in front of the court. This was probably a mistake on her end, but she simply doesn't know it yet.
During the channeling, the defendant saw her chance to stab the victim in the chest. Of course, the victim used the last of his strength to fight back, sir. While the two were fighting, the victim took out his gun. The victim took a shot, but because they were too close, he missed. The defendant then picked up on the opening, took the victim's gun, and ended it.
Okay, that was pretty well constructed. I guess old Gumshoe really does have a brain in there. However, there is one glaring flaw with this idea.
Missing the tiny hole on this costume will be the prosecution's undoing. You said the two of them were fighting when the victim fired his gun at point blank. If that were true, then where is the gunpowder burn on this costume?
He's got them. He's got them with their own logic and knowledge that they gave to him. That's our boy right there. Objection! I'm disappointed, Mr. Phoenix Wright. You think you can punch a hole in my logic with that? Let's see. In the middle of the fight, the victim pushed the defendant away. And it was then, when they were separated, that he fired.
Objection! As if that was even possible. According to testimony, the wound from the stabbing was very severe. The victim would not have had the strength to push the defendant very far after that.
Alright, well, what if it was the defendant who pushed the victim away? In order to ready herself for the final strike, perhaps? There seems to be no problem with that logic, except that there is. Present unto the court the folding screen from the channeling chamber. There's a small hole in the bottom of it. Remember?
Who? Where? What?
Mr. Wright, your explanation, please.
Are these two really that clueless? The bullet went through the defendant's sleeve first, then the folding screen. It passed through at a height of approximately 8 inches off the ground, which means when the shot was fired, the defendant, was not getting ready to strike, but was actually squatting low to the ground.
She'd have to be directly in front of the screen because otherwise she'd be close enough to the victim to leave, again, gunpowder burns. This puts a giant hole in the prosecution's argument. They claim that Maya killed the victim by stabbing, but how could she have done that if she spent the moments before the kill crouching by the folding screen?
All right. With this, the rest of the trial should be in the glass radius of disaster.
You are such a smart man, Mr. Phoenix Wright. To think that you've been able to take a completely hopeless case to this point. Now I know why Papa had a tough time with you. You amuse me. Von Karma claims she's seen enough of Gumshoe's face and he is whisked away to await a future punishment. I'm so sorry, or potentially so happy for him, whatever his proclivities may be. Von Karma then states that she's ready to bring in her next witness, which must be Lotta, and the judge calls a recess before we hear her speak. There's a short conversation out in the defendant's lobby, but it's nothing new, so back to the court.
Court will now reconvene. Now, the first order of— Ow!
I don't want to hear it, old man. After I call my witness, sit there quietly and watch like a good little boy. Franziska, you naughty little minx. Anyway, it's now time for Lotta to take the stand. I am so sorry that like most of this chapter ended up being me talking to myself, but let's move on. Lotta tries to say hi to Phoenix, but also ends up getting whipped. Well, at least Von Karma is equal opportunities when it comes to harassment. Only the doc and the defendant went into the channeling chamber. We was waiting outside the door and then bang, we hear this gunshot. Mr. Lawyer there broke the door down and we rushed into the room. Inside was the dead victim and the defendant waving a pistol around. I swear, other than those two, there was no one else in the room. Unfortunately, her statements are pretty airtight. Wright was literally right next to her when all of this happened, after all. She also has a picture of the crime, but alas, we can't see Maya's face in it. You can present evidence at this time, but it's actually a trap. It seems like there's nothing else he can do. This crime is pretty open and shut, but just when he begins to feel the despair of a loss... Phoenix, you can't make that kind of face. A lawyer is someone who smiles, no matter how bad it gets.
Mia!
Oh, and we thought Mia in Maya's clothes was a little awkward. Obviously, Pearl has channeled the spirit of Mia, and she's here to save Wright's ass as always. She tells him to think back to that day. There's one more thing he can do. Wright begs the judge to let Lotta testify again, and after the consent of Miss Von Karma, the queen of the court, she does. When we broke into that room, all I could focus on was Maya. I was, kind of scared of the dead body, so I didn't take a good look at it. I'm really bad when it comes to blood and ghosts and stuff, but I still managed to point my camera at Maya and take a shot. This one is the most straightforward challenge of the case. Press her on that last statement.
2, right? 2 shots. You took 2 shots.
But only one of them has been submitted to the court. Lotta panics, then reveals herself for the snitch she is by immediately laying the blame on Von Karma, claiming that she told her not to show that second picture to the court. Von Karma is still cool as ice though, and claims that it was so similar to the first that she saw no need to submit it. But, as soon as we can see the picture, yeah, she's obviously lying, because this is obviously not Maya. However, Von Karma's got something up her sleeve. She has another photo she wants the court to see. The judge is obviously confused, as it is not Maya in this photo, even if Von Karma claims it is. She looks this way because she is obviously in the middle of channeling a spirit. I mean, I suppose she's not wrong about that, but wait, how the fuck did she get this picture? Taking pictures of someone during a private visit is illegal. Surely you must know that that picture can't be submitted as evidence. Obviously, I know this picture is illegal, but I never intended to submit it as evidence in the first place. From the moment I showed this picture to the court, this case became all mine. After all, this image has now been forever burned into the judge's mind. And see, this is why this court system where one guy ultimately decides the accused's fate is obviously fucked up. I call for a revolution in the Ace Attorney universe because this court system is obviously cocked to hell and back. Viva la revolution! Down with the pigs that wear judges' clothes!
Your Honor, within this picture, lies a critical contradiction to all the testimony up until now.
Okay, fine, interrupt me then. I'll just bitch about your gameplay. Usually Ace Attorney does these point to the spot segments pretty well because they tend to be on maps with very clearly marked areas of interest to choose from. This one, not so much. Because for my review of the game before I wrote this script, I knew what the answer was. I selected the right spot, but it was a little too high up on the image for the game to accept, so I was told it was wrong, which made me think my thinking was wrong and that I hadn't had the answer the whole time, when really I just hadn't selected the exact right area. You're supposed to select the bottom of the left sleeve. I had just selected the left sleeve in general, thinking that the game would understand my intention. Maybe I'm just a little baby, but I think that entire sleeve should be blocked out for the right answer, if only to prevent situations like this. Puzzle design is a very tricky thing, but the number one thing you really don't want is to confuse players who already have the right answer. I could also point out that Maya is on the entire wrong side of the room in this picture, which I thought was going to be the answer at several points. If she really was crouched by the folding screen, she shouldn't be on this side of the room for these shots. But the game never once comments on this, so I don't know, man. I guess I'm just that smart. Anyway, the sleeve is the right answer because something is quite obviously missing here.
There was a bullet hole in the sleeve of the defendant's costume. If that's the case, then it should be in this picture as well.
Miss Von Karma, you intended to hide this valuable piece of evidence.
Yeah, what a bitch, am I right? But don't celebrate just yet. I don't like the look on her face. If those fools down at the precinct had missed the bullet hole, I would have gotten a report about it. As I didn't, I could not have known that this picture was of any value to this case. You need not worry. If you must assign a penalty, I'll personally make sure that detective gets what's coming. I'm sure there will be a great gnashing of teeth at the next salary discussion. Oh god, not poor Gumshoe. His salary's already been slashed a bunch of times. One particularly fun detail here is how Von Karma covers her own ass. In a bit we will learn that she is only 18, which for the most part sounds absolutely ridiculous, right? But in moments like these, her freshman shows, as it were, no one's gonna understand what that means but me. Her first instinct is to pass the blame of her failings onto a different party. She gets caught doing something bad, hiding evidence, but falls back on the defense of "it's not my fault," which is a very childish thing to do. She covers it up with threats of salary and verbose language, but the intention is still very much apparent. Anyway, the judge asks for an explanation from the defense, and quite clearly, despite the whole channeling thing, this person cannot be Maya.
Order! 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 If order is not restored, I will suspend this trial. Ow!
Why me?
Ma'am, I don't think weapons are allowed in the courtroom, but I guess nobody's gonna stop her. Von Karma lashes out at Lotta, threatening her with violence if she lied about only 2 people being in the room, but she obviously didn't. You see? Now riddle me this, Mr. Phoenix Wright. Where did the defendant vanish to? And where did this other woman appear from?
Why is it lately? All I want to do is cry.
But it's all on Phoenix now. He's made a claim, and he's got to substantiate it. Quite obviously, there were not 3 people in that room, so somehow Maya left. How do we know this?
Miss Hart, do you remember this key? If Maya Fey locked herself in, then the key should have been with her. However, she did not have the key at the time of her arrest. I got this present from a certain little girl. And that little girl was nowhere near the crime scene at the time. This means that Maya Fey must have left the room. If she had not, then I would not be holding this key you see before you.
Okay, looks like that was the final straw. We have two prevailing theories right now, and neither one seems to be overwhelming the other. Right now, it seems there's no way to prove whether or not this picture shows Maya channeling a spirit or someone else entirely.
My perfect case! How is there a flaw in my perfect case? Don't think you've won yet, Mr. Phoenix Wright. I am a prodigy. I have never lost a case, and I don't intend to lose here in this courtroom to a fool like you. I don't care what I have to do. I will get my guilty verdict.
And with that final threat, court is adjourned. In the defendant's lobby, the peanut gallery discusses the possibility that someone else could be in the room. It seems unlikely, but that's what investigating is for. We've made it back to Kurain Village and brought Pearl with us. She seems a little upset that if Maya isn't the killer, then someone else has to be. But we'll deal with that when we get to it. We can talk to Pearl for a few minutes, and she asks Wright to explain what a prosecutor is. Pearl wants to think the best of Franziska, but Wright says that there are no good prosecutors. Well, there might have been one.
Who are you talking about, Mr. Nick? Is that the person Mystic Maya was talking about? Mr. Edgeworth?
That was a long time ago. He's not around anymore. He clutched onto his foolish pride too fiercely and died for it.
Okay, so Edgeworth, is dead. I don't even know how to respond to this information. How the fuck did he kick it? Wright quickly changes the subject because something is bugging him. Just how did Pearl get the key? Where did she find it? You can present the black key to her and she'll tell you that she found it in the incinerator, but that brings up a further question. Where was she during the murder? She claims she was doing nothing.
You can whisper it to me. I won't tell anyone. I promise.
I guess you can see through my lie, huh?
But right now, we don't have enough information to break through these locks. Guess we gotta wander around a little while first. We can meet up with Morgan in the channeling chamber and we can ask her about the situation in the village. Maya and Mia's mother, Misty, has been gone some 16 years now, and if she doesn't come back in the next 4, she is considered dead and a new master will be chosen.
Mystic Maya was supposed to become the next master. However, with this murder, I'm afraid.
I must be imagining things. I thought she was laughing to herself for a second there.
Yeah, that's not sus at all. Anyway, let's go check out this incinerator. It's the one back in the winding way. But before we can go, someone accosts us.
Oh, hey! You're that dentist guy!
Wrong again. She seems really worked up about something. Despite there just having been a murder here, she's been so excited to look at all this occult stuff, like the big urn in the corner.
It's like this village's treasure, and it's sealed inside that urn. Ami Faye's spirit.
Ami Faye? Who's that?
Geez, Mr. Smith, get with the program. Everyone knows the lady that founded the Kurain channeling technique was Mystic Ami. So, as long as her spirit, lives in that urn, the spiritual power of the Faye family will stick around. Isn't that totally romantic?
I mean, sure, in the classical sense. Okay, how about some stuff that's really important, like the murder? Amy claims she has nothing to do with it, but she's, the one that introduced Dr. Gray to this village. Ah, shit, she's got me doing it now. Also, her sister was potentially murdered by him. So let's ask her about that, about her sister's accident. Unfortunately, we've got more psych-locks. We've been gated off on 2 fronts, but I think the easiest to crack will be Pearl, so let's start by trying to talk to Maya. She was with her on that day before the channeling. According to her, they were playing around with Pearl's ball.
It's nothing really special, just a plain old ball. I think she was still playing with it when I started the channeling job that day. Pearlie really loves to play with that ball. When she wants to get it, she always climbs right into the clothing box.
All right, it's not a strong lead, but it's a lead. Heading back to Kurain, we are once again interrupted on our quest. Ah! Why is she screaming? Okay, that was a dumb question. Lotta is always screaming, but why is she specifically screaming right now? We have to chase her throughout the entire house, finally finding her in the side room, where she's hiding in the clothing box.
I'm a bad person. Just another piece of human trash. I needed a hole to crawl into.
But wait, as he's looking at the box, Wright notices something. A small hole, 8 inches off the ground. Interesting. Let's also grab Pearl's ball while we're here as well. On our way back out, we run into Pearl again, who mentions that Lotta ran by crying about going to find herself or something like that. But we don't have time to worry about that now because I think we have everything we need to break those psych locks.
Pearl, you have to tell me what you were doing when the murder happened, okay?
But what if I can't just tell you what happened?
Then I'll guess what happened. How does that sound? You'll tell me if I guess something right, won't you?
Okay, here we go. First question. Where was Pearl when the murder was taking place? You could have brute forced your way through this one earlier, but considering that she loves to play with her ball there, she was probably in the winding way. That is also the answer to the next question. She was quite clearly playing with her ball. Right, that's one psych lock broken, but Pearl still isn't done yet.
Something happened, huh? Something really bad.
Okay, here's where it gets tricky. But if we put some pieces together on our own, isn't there something that was a little off back in the winding way? That's right. Ami's urn had the phrase, I am on it for, no reason, didn't it? Are you seeing where I'm going with this?
What's this? It's cracked all over, isn't it? There's even a few gaps here and there. Pearl, you broke the sacred urn, didn't you?
Still, she's fighting.
It's so old, so it's not that weird to have a few cracks. How can you tell that the urn has been broken?
Well, like we said, why was the phrase I am written on the vase? Because it's supposed to say Ami, but Pearl didn't know how to spell it. So now let's hear the whole story. Pearl did indeed break the urn on accident with her ball. In a panic, she grabbed some super glue and tried to stick it back together, but as soon as she saw Wright panicking, she packed everything away in haste. All right, now we've got the full story there. Don't exactly know how it'll come in handy, but any extra info can't hurt, right? So now let's see what we can do about Miss Eenie Miney. First, let's go back to Maya, and she's Mia right now, so we get some good advice from her. The two agree that the murderer must have been in the channeling chamber since before the channeling started, and Mia tells us a little more about the Kurain channeling technique. But Mia can't stay for long. The guards will get suspicious if it's not Maya who's here. But she tells us to come back once we've got everything we need. She has some psych locks too, doesn't she? Going back to Kurain again, it's a 2-hour train ride each time, remember. I don't know how this is physically possible. We run into Lotta. She didn't run away after all because she's a little attention whore, but she does have some information that we need about a certain Miss Miney.
That girl was hospitalized about half a year ago. Here, I'll give you the clinic's address. Maybe you can find out something.
All right, so one more 2-hour train ride later. I think this day has been about 50 hours long so far, and we make it to this Hotti clinic.
Yes. Are you here to visit a patient? Yes. I'm Director Hotti. Oh, Miss Miney. Miss Eenie Miney. Yes. Oh, her. It's too bad. I'll tell you something. That girl left here a long time ago.
Just then, a nurse enters from stage left, and of course this man is not actually Director Hotti. He's a patient who keeps swiping the director's coat. But since the nurse then leaves again, this guy is the only person we have to speak to. Great. We can learn from him that this place primarily specializes in plastic surgery, and that the specific surgery Eenie needed was really bad, but he won't tell you anymore. That is, until you present your attorney badge. Cue Mice Man losing his mind.
Yes, it was an accident. An accident. They're scary, yes. Cars. Yes, that's what gave her the terrible injuries. I swore it was in the papers.
Apparently her injuries were so bad that they needed a picture from her driver's license in order to reconstruct her face, which he swiped and has now been keeping as a souvenir. So that's just... yikes. Hotti can also give you another newspaper article that features an interview Eenie did after the accident. We'll be keeping that, but that's about all we can get from him, so it's time to take off again.
Yes. Well then, I'll be getting back to my room then. Tell Miss Eni I said hi, okay? Yes.
It's time for me to leave too. Yes. Okay, it's definitely time to leave.
Time to, once again, go back to Karain. It seems that while we were gone, Morgan called the police. She has something she wanted to tell them. Lotta shares with us a little hot goss. Seems that Morgan is actually the older sister between her and Misty, but her spiritual powers were weak, so Misty got to be the master instead. But here we go, time to unlock Eni's psych locks. We start off by trying to ask about her sister's accident, but she, totally stonewalls us, so let's try asking about her accident instead. She wants us to prove that she was indeed in an accident, but we've got that covered with the newspaper clipping. But Eni claims that that's not her.
I mean, this person has, the same name, but she's totally not me. My name, Eni Miney, is, pretty common.
No, it is not. But if we give her the license photo, she has to admit that it was indeed her. One psych locked down. But wait, Eni claims that her accident had nothing to do with the murder. Except we know it did. In the article, it says that one person who was in this same accident died, meaning that Mimi Miney and Eni Miney's accidents were one and the same. And that's it. We've got her. Eni tells us how she escaped through the passenger side door, but that she couldn't save Mimi. We can also ask her about Dr. Gray, and she thinks that he is probably responsible for the accident, which gives her a very strong motive for this murder.
It seems simple, doesn't it? But it would be very hard to catch me. Actually, I'd say impossible. I think you get the picture. I'm going to serve you a slice of humble pie. I hope you enjoy it.
Okay, so she did it. Like she totally did it. There's no question about it now, right? So that means we're done. We've got all the info we can. On our way out, we run into a little commotion. The police are escorting Morgan, and Pearl is freaking out about it. Seems like she's probably going to testify at court tomorrow. Back at the detention center, Mia finally properly confronts Wright. Does he think he truly has this whole thing figured out? Well, I guess we'll see, because there's those psych locks again. She's protecting something, and it's pretty obvious what it is. Her Aunt Morgan. Obviously, she has more than enough motive to be involved with this murder. Problem is, she has an alibi. So what makes us think she's involved? Present the black key.
At the beginning of the channeling, Maya had possession of this key, and yet somehow it magically ended up in the incinerator in the center garden. There's only one person who could have done that while I was busy calling the police. The person taking care of Maya, Morgan.
But Mia claims this alone is too flimsy. The key could have wound up there any time. But the cloth from Maya's robe was there as well because the key was in her sleeve. Alright, now we have evidence and motive, but again, she has an alibi. She couldn't have done this all by herself, so what did she need?
Eni Miney. She's the answer to the final question.
Which means that my aunt and Eni Miney
We're in cahoots.
All right, and that's everything we need. We'll have to put some final pieces together in the courtroom tomorrow, but I think we're just about ready to figure out what really happened.
Nick? Did you know that Von Karma's daughter is only 18? Just like me? I was just thinking about how strong she is. I mean, she's been in Germany all this time by herself, and she's so grown up. And then you look at me and, well, I'm the daughter of a master, but I'm still just a little girl. And on top of that, I'm the suspect in a murder trial.
But I think you're really strong too, Maya, for all you've gone through.
Say it out loud, Nick, you coward. Anyway, Pearl interrupts him by running up to tell them that her mother's going to be here today. Oh yeah, she's definitely gonna be here, alright.
Do you think you could do me a big favor? Could you channel Mia today too? Please, it's very important to me. I don't feel confident enough without her help.
Mr. Nick, that's enough! You can't show weakness in front of the person you love!
Okay, that aside, Wright asks one more time, and Pearl finally acquiesces. And just when we thought Wright was over needing Mia to help him with every case.
Whew, thank goodness. This way, Pearls won't be able to see today's trial.
Oh. Nick, you sly dog. You just care about this poor kid's feelings. You didn't need Mia at all.
Court is now in session for the trial of Maya Fey.
The defense is ready, Your Honor.
Let's start again, Mr. Phoenix Wright. I look forward to tonight's news with great joy. The image of your defeated face will be transmitted all over the world. Oh, she's real big mad. I'm not looking forward to what trick she's got up her sleeve. Okay, but it's time to answer the theory we brought up in yesterday's trial. How did the key get out of the channeling chamber if Maya, who possessed it, never left? Von Karma has an answer for that. She claims that there was one moment when the defendant did leave the room. She apparently left the room and then came back. And to prove it, Von Karma calls Morgan Fay to the stand. Witness, name und occupation.
My name is Morgan Fay, and I am a spirit medium, in a manner of speaking.
I'm sorry, but what do you mean, in a manner of speaking? Ah!
I don't think anyone really cares. Oh, I see how it is. Franziska has no trouble getting her witnesses to cooperate. That's just an Edgeworth problem, huh? She just has problems with the judge instead. Anyway, Morgan claims that while she was performing the spirit-severing ritual on Maya, she, in her possessed state, briefly escaped from the room. The judge asked her to testify on this matter.
After we heard the gunshots, those two broke the door open and entered the chamber. I requested that Mr. Wright and the other lady please contact the police. A pistol was hanging from Mystic Maya's hand, and she was in a daze. Then, quite suddenly, she thrusted me away from herself and escaped from the room. With great strength, she hit the base of my neck, and I fainted for a short while. I'm afraid I have no knowledge of where she went after that.
Allimiece is staring daggers at me right now, but I assure you that thrusted is an error on the game's part, not on mine. I'm cringing just as hard right now. Wright asks why she hid this from the court until now, and she says that while she initially didn't want to cause more trouble for Maya, she has to make the proper events known. She's indeed a slippery one, that's for sure. This is another case of just pressing on every statement until something happens. This is why I always press on every statement, always, before doing anything else. Also, then I get to see funny lines.
Just now, you said those two. Who were the two people you were referring to?
I was referring to that foreign lady and yourself, good sir.
Lotta's not a foreigner, despite how she talks.
Oh, is that so? I'm sorry. I simply could not understand her atrocious English. Not to mention, she looked awful.
You know, like that. Unfortunately, every time we press on one of her statements, she uses the exchange to turn it back on us, causing the court to like her and see her side much more clearly. She's super tricksy, isn't she? And she's also done everything she needed to do. Her statement stands, and Von Karma calls her next witness, Miss Miney. We may be wondering where the possessed Maya fled to, and of course, that would be to her only sister, wouldn't it? She, of course, claims this to be the case and is asked to testify.
Like, when the channeling started, I was, sleeping in the side room. A little later, someone came into the room, really suddenly. It was oh my god, totally my sister. I, had seen her in, so long. I was so happy in, a sad way. My sister, she, told me something, totally terrible.
Von Karma asked her to tell the court what this terrible thing was.
That was no accident. I was drugged with sleeping pills. I was murdered by that person. That's why I took my revenge. It's only fair, isn't it, Annie?
Of course, this whole thing looks pretty cut and dry from the outside, but we know for a fact that it can't be true. The whole thing must be made up. Phoenix is a little impressed, and so it's time to cross-examine the witness. Yet again the foolish fool spouts out more foolishly foolish drabble. I wonder if you'll make this one more entertaining than the last. There's immediately something that's bugging me. Annie seemed to really not be all that surprised about seeing her very dead sister covered in blood, huh? So let's question her about that. Press in her statement about being happy in a sad way, and she'll explain that since she's familiar with the Kurain channeling technique, it wasn't all that strange, but there's a little more to it than that. We can question further, and she'll add the statement to her testimony that she wasn't scared, and her costume looked totally like normal. And we've got her. Present Maya's costume or the second photo on this statement. Her costume certainly didn't look entirely normal. It was absolutely covered in fucking blood.
That was a very well-spun lie, Miss Eni. It's well constructed, but that's all it is. Miss Miney, may I remind you of what you said? You said that there is nothing strange about your sister's appearance, but I don't think that's what you were thinking at all.
Order! Order! Miss Miney, what is the meaning of this? Miss Miney?
I'm thinking! Don't interrupt me!
Okay, that was odd. That wasn't like Eni at all. She's never gotten even remotely upset before now. Mia comments on this, but Wright brings up a good point. A lot of witnesses have quick turnaround personalities in the stand, so let's have her testify about her sister's appearance and what happened then.
Like, the side room was, like, kind of dark, you know? So, like, the costume is, like, purple, right? The blood totally blended right in. And I, like, persuaded my sister it wasn't, like, right to do something like that. And then, like, I took my sister to the channeling chamber.
Yes, now I see. And you have given us a clear reason for why you didn't notice the blood. Are you satisfied, Mr. Wright? Alright, I guess not. Very well, you may question the witness.
Actually, this one is relatively straightforward. In fact, you might already have the answer. You might be screaming it at your screen right now. You should scream that answer in the comments too. Wink, wink. Anyway, the answer is obvious, but we've really got to pull it out of her. There's a couple of her statements on which you can ask her if she noticed anything unusual. You're given a couple of ways to be more specific, but we want to ask her specifically about when she was going to the crime scene. She says no, but if you press her, the judge will ask her to add that as a statement. And now we know what to do. Present either the sacred urn or Pearl's face on this new statement.
I'd like to introduce someone to you. This is Miss Morgan Fay's daughter, Pearl Fay. It just so happens that at the time of the murder, Pearl was playing in the center garden. This urn was broken right around the time the channeling started, and Pearl was the one who put it back together.
And of course, right at the time Eni claimed she was leading her sister back to the channeling chamber, Pearl was putting the urn back together in the winding way, which is right in between the side room and the channeling chamber. Pearl would have seen her, but Pearl never told us anything about seeing either of them. She packed up her shit when she heard Wright. So where was Eni really during the murder? She still claimed she was asleep in the side room, but that has to be a lie. How can we prove it? Why, from her earlier testimony. After a series of very scary bluffs, Wright comes to the proper conclusion. Eni claimed that Miss Morgan was the only one in the channeling chamber.
So? Like, what does that, like, have to do with anything?
It's very simple, Miss Miney. How did you know that fact? I concede that Miss Fay was the only person in the channeling chamber. However, someone who was asleep in the side room could not have known that.
So what does this mean? Well, Eni had to have been in the channeling chamber at some point, but she couldn't have used the winding way because Pearl would have seen her. But the winding way is the only way to get between the side room and the channeling chamber, so what gives? Well, clearly, Eni wasn't in the side room at the time of the murder. She must have been in the channeling chamber itself.
Mr. Phoenix Wright, have you lost your mind? Yesterday's testimony established that only the victim and the defendant were in the chamber when the channeling started.
Simple. Miss Eni Miney was hiding at the scene of the crime.
So, in the intros to these videos, I really like to bring up classic detective fiction because, quite obviously, Ace Attorney takes a lot of inspiration from them while spinning things in an entirely different direction. I've talked at length about how it does this with its characters, but another way that it really flips the classic detective story on its head is in how it goes about solving its cases. In your typical piece of classic detective fiction, a vast majority of the story is about going around and collecting clues or potentially experiencing the murders firsthand before the detective has all the pieces, calls everyone together, and explains exactly what happened start to finish. Ace Attorney doesn't work like that. First of all, its investigation and solving sections are split into 2, sometimes even 3 parts. Pieces of the cases come together slowly and one at a time, emulating much more strongly what's probably going on in the detective's head. But Phoenix Wright isn't a detective. He's a lawyer. As I've stated many a time, this choice was made very much on purpose. Wright's job isn't to solve the case, even though that's usually what he ends up doing in order to do his real job, which is to get his client declared innocent. When he goes to court, Phoenix doesn't have all the pieces in place. He bluffs, he schemes, he figures things out and how the pieces fit together on a moment-to-moment basis. It's a really thrilling way to tell a detective story. It takes a genre that has very specific conventions and gives them an exciting new angle while still feeling like a classic detective story. I didn't really have a further point about this, I just think it's neat. Anyway, there's really only one place Eney could have been hiding at the crime scene, and that's behind the folding screen. But there's a catch. Multiple people have testified to checking behind the screen, and there was no one there.
See? You stupid jerk! Quit being so quick to pin it on me, slimeball!
Man, Wright really gets called a lot of names in these games. My personal favorite so far is Spiky Head, but of course, there is a very obvious way she could be hiding behind that screen, and we've got evidence to back it up. Of course, we have to present the clothing box, but there's no way she could be in there, right? Because that box has been in the side room all this time, or so Von Karma claims. Ah, but that is incorrect. We can prove it's been in the channeling chamber specifically at the time of the murder. There's a hole in the box, if you'll recall. A bullet hole, about 8 inches off the ground, exactly in the same location as the hole in the screen.
At the time of the shooting, the clothing box was sitting behind the folding screen, which is why the bullet from the pistol hit both the box and the folding screen. Miss Miney, you were hiding behind the folding screen, waiting for your chance! Yes, for your chance to kill Dr. Gray.
Of course, what Wright is saying is that the person captured in the picture is not Maya at all, but Eney Miney disguised as Maya.
I can't stand to listen to any more of this foolishness. If that's the case, Mr. Phoenix Wright, then I have a proposition. This whole idea that the witness moves the clothing box to the crime scene, pretended to be the defendant, killed the victim, and then fled the scene of the crime. It's not possible for one person to do that all by herself.
This question is a trap, unless you're thinking one step ahead of the game. Of course it is impossible. For one person. Miss Miney clearly had an accomplice, and there's only one person that accomplice could be. Morgan Fay.
If it wasn't someone from Kurain Village, you couldn't have gotten the costume. And if it wasn't someone from the Fay household, you wouldn't have had that box to use.
All Eney can do to deny this statement is to fucking growl. Girl, don't let the wolf out quite yet! Let's hear Phoenix lay it all out first, because now it's time for his big detective moment.
The murderer had planted herself at the scene of the crime long beforehand. Dressed in a medium's costume and wearing a wig, she pretended to be the defendant. And then, the channeling started. The murderer crept silently toward the other two, both of whom had their eyes closed. First, she drugged Maya Fay with a strong sleeping agent. Then, she stabbed Dr. Gray with the knife. Next, she hid my client inside the clothing box. She did that so she could take Maya's place and frame her for the crime.
But of course, that's when something she didn't expect happened. Dr. Gray was not quite dead and shot at her, leading to the bullet hole in the screen and box, and the pictures being taken when Wright and Lotta broke into the room, hence why Morgan chased them out so quickly. I mean, this all seems pretty cut and dry. The judge believes him. I believe him. I mean, I'm the one that actually put these pieces together, so of course I do.
Who is that? Laughing at a time like this.
Oh, you simple-minded fools. I'm sorry. Are you still, by chance, evolving? Do you really think someone of Von Karma blood would lose to something this petty? Mr. Phoenix Wright, your argument is flawed in one very crucial area. If this witness is a real murderer, why would she go to all this trouble?
The trouble to frame specifically Maya for the crime, of course. Why go through all the song and dance of working with Morgan, of setting up this whole thing, when she could have just killed Dr. Gray at any point, in any way? And why would she want to kill him in the first place? Well, that part's simple at least. Present the newspaper articles about the accident.
You think I did this to get revenge for my sister's death? Don't be stupid. No one has proof that Dr. Gray drugged my sister, right? And you want me to say I wanted to take revenge based on nothing?
Besides, it was Dr. Gray who asked her about the spirit medium in the first place, after all, not the other way around. While the method is there, the motive is still missing. The judge has to agree with this. Eney and Von Karma gloat, but one more objection is made. Mia begs that the defense be given just a little more time. Von Karma, hubris biting at her tail, agrees to give Wright one more chance. The judge declares a recess, and we'll be right back after this commercial break. There is no commercial break. I lied about that. Back in the defendant's lobby, Maya is pretty bummed about her Aunt Morgan being involved in this whole thing, but before Wright can really offer her an explanation, Von Karma pops in to ruin the party.
Why are you doing this? Why are you trying to take revenge on Nick? Nick had nothing to do with what happened to your dad.
Don't you have something better to be worrying about? Say your own situation. My goal is to defeat you, and let the whole world know of your defeat.
Okay, so that was a non-answer. Let's get back to the courtroom. The judge asks if Wright can prove Eni's motive. Wright bluffs and says he can, and then has Eni testify about her car accident.
That was, last year, in May. Something really bad had happened at, my sister's clinic around then. And, the night of the accident, my sis was totally tired while she was driving. I was, totally pooped too, so I, fell asleep in the passenger seat. I, woke up because of a jolt, and, it was a sea of flames around me. I, opened the door and, got away.
It is, of course, now most likely impossible to prove that Mimi was drugged, so we've got to come at this from a different angle. Let's ask her about her sister being tired at the wheel. Obviously, it was because of the police investigation, but if she was so tired, why didn't she have Eni drive? Eni claims it was because she didn't have a license at the time. Aha. There we are. We know for a fact that Eni had a license because we have her license picture. So present that on her new statement.
That's right. Yeah, I had, a license, but I didn't get it until after the accident.
Of course, Wright got it from the fake Hotti, so we've got proof that she had it at the time of the accident, but he kind of just gets steamrolled over. The judge listens to Eni's claim, even though it's blatantly false. I actually don't get this bit, but let's go back to Sane Land. Eni says that even if she did have her license, her sister would have never let her drive anyway, and we ask her to testify about that.
Around that time, I was, really close to getting my license. My sis was, this totally big fan of cars and, really valued them. She, had just gotten this really shiny bright red sports car. She, would say things like, no way am I letting a noob drive my car. So, that's why I ended up in the passenger seat that night, too.
Let's ask her more about that car, specifically because Leroy will kill me if I don't. But it's actually important. That car was imported from the UK.
The UK? Were those her boyfriend's initials?
You know, I would question how the judge doesn't know what the UK is, but according to the localization team, we're in America right now, so that actually makes a lot of sense. Eni adds the statement that the car is from England to her testimony. Luckily for those less informed about cars, or those who know the information this game is looking for but are too dumb to figure it out, like me, Phoenix has got you. Pressing this new statement will reveal an interesting fact. Cars from England have the steering wheel on the opposite side that we do because they drive on the other side of the road. I mean, it's pretty fucking silly if you ask me.
You! What do you know? That sleek shape, the purr of the engine, the wild way it starts, and its smooth handling, the raw feeling of manual transmission, the cool breeze of the AC.
Man, her personality really changes quickly, doesn't it? Also, I asked resident car expert Leroy about sports cars from England, and this is what he had to say.
Well, I'm so glad you asked! The English paved the way for fun, affordable sports cars based on many, many factors. Let's start with how iconic the designs were, because we hardly see anything like it to this very day. Little convertible sports coupes, the Miata was based on English design cues. A lot of the most popular Japanese sports cars are based on existing English designs. Also, the British love to go racing. Rally, circuits, day tripping, what have you. The Ford Cortina is a good example of a common economy car that the British love to modify and hurl around a track. And when Lotus got their hands on the Cortina, holy shit. Let me just look at it. This thing was unstoppable. This car didn't just dominate the tracks, it also defined the British working class system. They used to give Cortinas away to working families, and the trim of the car was based on their position. Like CEOs would get like a GXL model, or intern would get like a GE. Sports cars are the heart and soul of the British industry. And we can't forget Aston Martin in the James Bond films. And Lotus. Can't forget Lotus. Lotus Esprit V8. Look it up. Fucking sick. Movies have a shit ton of influence on car design. Just look at Transformers and the Camaro. Yeah. Transformers made the Camaro super popular. You have brands like MG, McLaren, Jaguar, Aston Martin, Mini Cooper, Austin Healey, Lotus, etc. It's hard to turn your head and not see their influences anywhere. Ever seen Italian Job? Minis run the fucking streets. There's a fun little video online of Mini Coopers and Ford Galaxies racing on the track, and the Ford is like 5 times bigger than the Mini, and they're keeping pace with each other. Madness! I got a little off track, but I can summarize with a good point here. European Ford also makes way cooler cars than we do in America. This is just like a niche little subset of Ford. This car right here, the RS200, is a prime example. Everything that we do in America, they do way fucking cooler. We just make pickup trucks, and it's heartbreaking. The British make their best designs for racing and then work out how to sell it to the public. So kids in the UK grow up watching the races these cars are in, and one day they'll own them. Did I answer your question?
Anyway, that's not really important right now. What is important is the passenger seat is on the left side of the car. And in the article about the accident, the one where Eni gave an interview, she states that she got out of the door on the right side specifically.
Miss Miney, you said that you had escaped using the right side door of the car. But if you were sitting there, then that means you were in the driver's seat.
But as Von Karma tells us, it was Mimi who was driving. Yes, that's correct. Mimi was driving. And Eni got out of that same door when she escaped. If Mimi was driving...
Who is the person standing on the witness stand right now?
Well, Phoenix, what are you gonna tell them? Of course, you want to submit Mimi Miney's profile. You see, lads and lasses, we have been duped. This person has never been Eni Miney at all.
The witness had severe facial burns when she was admitted into the hospital. So, for the purpose of facial reconstruction, the surgeons used a picture.
And the picture she gave them was that of her younger sister, Eni. That night in the accident, it was really Eni who died all along. Mimi survived, but took up the identity of her younger sister. And it is this fact that gives Mimi the motive for killing Dr. Gray.
Dr. Gray wanted to call back the spirit of a dead person. Specifically, the spirit of his nurse that died in the car crash, Mimi Miney. However, that would not have been possible. And that fact would have been discovered had the channeling been conducted. So this witness had to stop that from happening, at all costs.
The court panics, and finally, the true culprit takes off her mask.
That's right. I admit it. My real name is Mimi Miney. That quack doctor. He got what he deserved in the end. And I was so close to finally ditching Mimi, too. So close.
But why? Why did she want to ditch her old self so badly? Well, the answer is in the first newspaper clipping. The accident at the hospital, of course. Dr. Gray was right all along. The mistake was Mimi's. Of course, he's not entirely free from guilt. He's the one who overworked her to the point where she made the mistake, but it was ultimately hers. So when the accident happened, she decided to start over as her sister, to make Mimi die.
That jerk. If only he hadn't thought of that channeling mumbo-jumbo. Becoming Eni has been the most horrible experience in the world. Spirit channeling? The occult? I hate it. I hate it all.
She is taken away, and the case is officially closed.
I believe there are still a few unsolved riddles here, such as, why did Miss Miney choose to go with such a complicated plan? And why did Miss Morgan Fay agree to help her execute it? Regardless, I believe one thing has been made crystal clear.
I'm going to enjoy the news tonight, Miss Von Karma. How about you? It's going to be broadcast all over the world, right? Your defeat, that is... Ah!
And one more for good measure! Well then, while we wait for Wright to regain consciousness, the judge makes his proclamation. Maya Fey is, of course, not guilty. Finally, back in the defendant's lobby, Maya and Mia get to very briefly unite. Mia tells her that, no, of course she didn't kill anyone, and that this whole thing has all been just a terrible dream.
You know, sis, in my dream I smelled a really familiar scent. I was inside the clothing box, right? That box? That was the box you used to store your clothes in a long time ago.
Wright congratulates Maya as well, but she's a little bit sad. She seems to keep getting into these jams, and every time she does, she loses someone important to her. First it was Mia, and this time it's her aunt. She has no idea why her aunt would have tried to frame her for murder. But as always, Wright's got the right answer. Kill me.
4 years from now, a new master will be born into the Kurain village. And that person will be you, Maya. But if you weren't there, then the main family's bloodline would disappear. And what would happen then?
The Branch family. My aunt!
No. Morgan's spiritual power is too weak. The next person would be Pearls. Everything was done for her sake. It was all so that Pearls would become the new master.
It's sad to see the lengths that parents will go for their children, and it's a shame it had to end this way. But in the end, all's well that ends well. It's time to go for burgers.
My precious Pearl, you are the only one suitable to be the master of Kurain, dear child. I sacrificed it all for you. It was all to unseat that annoying, witless main family girl, that Maya Faye. But I shall be patient, my dearest Pearl. A chance will present itself. Your time will come.
I'm going to keep it short today because the intention is obviously that in the future you'll have both parts of this game to view here, so I don't want to take up too much of your time. But I do have one or two things to say. Justice for All is an immediate step up from the first game, in both methodology and difficulty. The characters are more cartoonish, the crimes more difficult to solve, and the gameplay style is more creative. It's honestly a bit rough to go back to the first game after playing this one because it's just frankly so much more solidly put together. And as much as I love good old edgy boy, I must admit that Franziska von Karma is my favorite prosecutor. And just like in the first entry, the Faye family remains central to the main plot, and I love how their story weaves in and out of everyone else's. First it was Edgeworth, and now it continues to twist into the Von Karmas. Later on it will connect back up with Mia and a few characters we haven't met yet, but that won't be until much further down the line. It gives us a nice centrality to return to, and I look forward to unraveling more of the secrets around the Faye family. For now though, it's time to take a little rest. I have something big and exciting coming just over the horizon, so I hope you'll join me for my next grand venture. In the meantime, I don't know, go become a lawyer or something. These videos take about that long to come out anyway. Special thanks to my Priests of the Hog and my Elder Hog Prophets, 89 Slam 89, Adra, Chronoton, Death Kitty, Eshok7, Jonathan Hummel, Madam Mr. Sir, Magil of the Shadows, and Ventus Agri. Thanks so much, guys.